Mm-hmm.
And to begin with, I'd like to ask where you were born and where did you grow up?
Really, I grew up in a village. It was just south of a town that you know as Calcutta.
Mm-hmm.
And back then it's Calcutta. Okay, the name has changed. The state is actually West Bengal, India. And in this village itself, the village name was Telar, and it was, again, 20 miles south from Kolkata.
Very good. And how long did you live there?
I lived there until I was the age of 13. And then I moved here to America, and that was in the year of 1983.
Okay. And if you could, please tell me a bit about your family and what was your family life like growing up?
My parents, and I had a brother as well, but he was hearing, and he could see, and he wasn't deaf either. So my brother is actually 9 years younger than me, and both of my parents were high school teachers. My dad taught math, and my mom taught math as well and science. So both of them are now retired.
Very good. And please tell me, what were your schools and classrooms like when you were growing up, when you were a student?
I went to elementary school from the first to second grade. But you have to understand that back then, I did have my vision. I was born deaf, but I would learn to speak in Bengali, and I learned to lip read as well. And other people at that time did not provide interpreters. So what I would do is I would have to sit in the very front of the classroom and watch the teacher very closely and read her lips. And so that's how I'd understand everything that was going on. And I did have a difficult time because often the teacher herself would talk so quickly, or she would turn her head where I could not read her lips. And I also often have to say, please, I need to pay attention. Would you quit moving your head so I can see? And sometimes she would completely turn around, to write on the chalkboard or the blackboard. And so that was very hard. It made it very difficult for me to see. And so some teachers that might have a beard or a goatee, such as myself, are hard to lip read as well. Now, my mom, she was a teacher in high school, and she had a good relationship with my school. My mom often went there to support me. She supported me very, very much. She was a very strong advocate for me, and she talked to all my teachers on how to change their teaching style because of me. My mom met with each teacher individually and to follow up and to collect information about how I was doing on my homework, what kind of access I needed, what I needed to be bringing home. So my mom and my father actually both supported and tutored me throughout school. And now the Bengal language that I learned was developed, okay? And my dad said I had writing skills equivalent to the 9th grade. So even though I was in the 2nd grade, I had writing skills of a 9th grader, and I loved to read books. I loved to write, and I knew I had the language very well developed, even by the 2nd grade. The regular hearing sighted kids surrounded me, and I struggled with them, and but the teachers did do very well. But before I went to that school, I was in Telluride, the village, and that other school It was in Kolkata, near my mother's family. And I stayed there for 6 months. And boy, that was a real struggle there, because the teachers just did not understand my needs, and they did not help me at all. And the other kids would really pick on me a lot. So I just had a lot of struggle with the kids, and it was not fun. And there was no depth there. You know, they would call me dumb because I wouldn't understand a lot, and I wasn't able to speak. Even though it wasn't my fault, I couldn't hear. And I tried to catch everything by lip reading.
And you said that it was a struggle for you with the other students. And you gave an example that sometimes they would call you names or make fun of you. When you think back to your experiences as a student, is there a particular event that sticks out in your mind, or a story that you can share with me that captures your interactions or interactions with your classmates?
Okay. When I was in the 2nd grade, and I was in Tilaria school, there was one day I remember very, very perfectly clear. I was walking along school. After school, I was going home because, you know, I had to go walk back and forth every day to school. It was just a 5-minute walk. So that particular day I remember because I was walking home, and I noticed that 2 kids were walking behind me. And they were teasing, making jokes about me. And so I looked back and I caught them. I caught on their lips what they were saying about me. And I was just fuming. I got so mad. I thought, I'm going to get revenge on these kids. But I didn't say anything. I just kept walking. And I went home and I thought about it for a long time. I thought, how can I get them back? So the next day, I went to school and I saw the same 2 kids. And they were drinking some water. They were actually getting it from the well. Because, you know, of course, in India, they use the well, you know, and they pump it up and down to get it from a well. Anyway, they were very quiet, and I snuck up behind the kids, and I grabbed them, and I threw them in the drain. Really, it's a sewer down there. But I was so proud that I had thrown them, and it made me feel a lot better. I felt like I really got back to these kids. And they were up actually to their chest in the sewage water. It was the dirty, you know, from the bathroom, the water from there. And then I ran away to school, and I felt really proud of myself because I got back. Those poor kids had to go home and change their clothes. But other than that, my classmates we usually got along very well. I mean, it was more on a basic, superficial level, like, hi, how are you, you know. It wasn't really, you know, I didn't have any real best friends that I hung out with every day. I just talked to people briefly every once in a while.
And with your interactions, you described your interactions with your classmates. You told me a story about that. Would you mind sharing some information about your interactions with your teachers? And perhaps there's a vivid memory that you have about an interaction that you had with a teacher while you were a student.
Sure. My teachers knew that I was a troublemaker, but not really, because my mother, she worked at the school, in the school system, so I always tried to be on my best behavior in the classroom, okay? I always try to be more aggressive outside. And if I tried to, you know, get back at the other students, I would not do it in the classroom. I would do it outside the classroom. So some kids would have gossip, and they'd tell me, and they'd let me know what was going on. But I think socializing or interacting with a teacher was a problem for me. But because of the support from my mom, it became better and better, and the relationship developed because of that. Now, I do feel that they met my needs.
Good. And if you could offer advice to people who are training to be teachers and working with people who have disabilities, what advice would you give a new teacher or someone who's training to be a teacher?
I think the most important thing for a teacher when they're working with students with disabilities is try to treat them all the same, okay? Really, you've just got to make sure that they have the appropriate accommodations for each individual student. Each children you're going to have to match differently with what they need. Because I've recognized over and over that students with disabilities feel that they really don't want to go up to the teacher. They're scared. They don't want to be the teacher to get mad because, asking for accommodations. Mm-hmm. They're afraid of what the teacher might think. And also the communication can be a barrier. But I think it's important that teachers open that communication so a student will feel free to be able to express what their needs are. And the teacher can encourage them and give them options in order to see which accommodation is best for each disabled student. And also I would like to encourage new teachers to always be open with expressing their needs as well and letting the students express theirs in return so they can have better a rapport together with the teacher. Now, other students the rapport is very important in order to have teamwork and cooperation in the classroom. Because I have recognized often that students with disabilities often have experience of getting picked on from other students, and it makes them have very low self-esteem. And it's hard to pay attention in class because those students need to feel that they're able to share their ideas, to share their problems with other students and with the teacher. And the teacher must be able to listen to these and recognize this and not just tell them to go away. I believe that the disability must be heard, and so they can make a better judgment about each individual situation. And so there's better access for each individual student.